Right, hi, welcome to the channel. My name's Pete. This episode we're going to be covering the Driffield to Malton railway line. I'm stood in what is the former cattle yards, where they used to drop cattle off. Behind me you can see the old sugar mill. There's some old railway lines that go across there still. Most of these have been pulled up. There is an active line over there, so we'll stay clear of that. I hope you enjoy this episode. If you do, please like, share and subscribe. So over there is the old platform. There used to be sidings running down here, and if we look down on the roadway there, we can still see some traces of train track, what would have gone through into there, which would have been the old cake and sugar mill. Let's get a bit closer to those for you. You can still see them there, and they go right over there and they come out on the other side of the road there. So let's go and have a look and see if there's anything left of these platforms. This is at the back of what remains of the old cattle platforms. This would have been an important platform to the Driffield and Malton Railway. It was mainly agriculture and cattle as well as passengers, and then later in its life it was a lot of quarry work, lime, chalk. So we've still got an original gate post in situ here. If we look at that, you can still see we've got gate fastenings on there. And if we go through here, there's the other one at the other side there. And this is the site of the old platform. As you can see, it's terribly overgrown. There is a fence up, so we can't get to the edge, but I can go over the top with the camera. I can show you the edge of it, still down there, going all the way along, and then that's back up towards the mill where we just were. Okay, let's continue on our journey. Still on what's left of the cattle dock. I remember years ago, and it looks like it might even still be here, an old railway carriage. It's going to be virtually impossible to get to today, but that looks like it's there. I'll try and get a little bit closer so you can see the side of it. Things I go through for this channel. It's well overgrown now, but that, to me, no, I don't think it could be. I'm not certain. There's no way to get into it or any closer, but I don't think it is. It looks like it's made out of metal, and I remember the one being here being made of wood. So during World War II, this platform was also used for unloading ammunition, and during World War II this line was important for the military services, supplying ammunition and equipment to airfields around here, which there were a great number of. There's probably at least 5 within sort of 10 miles of where I'm stood right now. So that is the old cattle station at Driffield Dock. And I've got with me today my brother Steve. There he is. He's been an advisor on this, as he's got a lot of knowledge about trains. So this is what used to be the old signalman's cottage or gate crossing cottage. You can see by the chimneys up there. If we look on the top, it's got that hole in it. And there used to be a signal box here as well. I'll try and find a picture of that up and put that up for you, and I'll show you what the crossing's like now next to the old cattle platforms. So where I am now is on Driffield train station. This was opened in 1946 as the Hull to Bridlington branch. Now George Hudson had the idea of opening a train station, well, not train station, sorry, a train line from Driffield to Malton, commonly called the Malton Dodger. for reasons that will come apparent a bit later on. It's not changed much, to be quite honest with you. Yeah, it's got a different roof on it. It did used to have a full roof, and I'll show you that. I'll turn the camera around and we'll have a look at the station. So at the time when Driffield was open, it was owned by the York and North Midland Railway. I believe George Hudson was on the board of directors at that point, and he formed the Malton and Driffield Railway Company, and it would have been from this train station going down these tracks and then splitting off further up there past the next crossing, which we'll go to. I just wanted to show you Driffield train station because it's got a history of its own. It's actually still got a waiting room. We can't get in it today, but it is locked up. But if I can put the camera in there for you, it's got original benches in there still. Yeah, painted. I remember when these were dark brown actually. But there's also the fireplace as well, just down there. So all fairly original still in there at Driffield train station. There is some pictures of this place, and I will put some up for you. Round about there used to be a WH Smith's serving station, serving hatch. That's the entrance. Locked up today because the train station is closed. I've come here on New Year's Day. And there used to be a signal box just in there, and there are some pictures of that taken from over the road, so we'll stand over there and we'll take some shots of that, and then we'll continue on to the next junction. This is Beverley Road crossing. This is where the Malton Dodger would have come through, approximately there, crossed over the road almost where I'm stood, which is now here. There's a new estate being built over there, and that estate is called North Box Road, because right here, where you can see that overgrowth where Stephen stood, is the site of the old signal box at Beverley Road crossing. There is a picture of that, and I'll put that up for you to have a look at. Okay, so after Beverley Road, this is the first major obstacle for the Malton and Driffield railway line, and I am stood exactly where the bridge used to be, and I remember this bridge. Now I'm going to zoom in and show you. We've got the evidence of that with coping stones here, in there. You can just see some brickwork. Been knocked down. That housing estate there, that street's called Burdale Close. Now if we look down into the water, we can see old coping stones. That one there you can see has got a shape to it, and down here is some old brickwork. Now there is a little bit more left than that, because if I show you where I'm stood, we've got more brickwork, coping stones, and an actual buttress to a bridge. That is really small, clearly single track, and we'll just go across the front of it, and I'll go over to the top of it so you can have a look across the top of it as well. There we go, that's what's left of the first bridge out of Driffield on the Malton and Driffield railway line. I'm going to stand right in the middle of it, and I'm going to show you where we're going next. Trees in the way. This is now a field, a grazing field. What we're going to do is, I'm going to follow that path right up there, because that clump of trees in there is our next destination. There is something left to say there was a track here, just a little bit further up, and I'll show you that when we get there. Just before I leave this bridge, if we look down at my feet, and then my brother Steve's picked some of this stuff up, so he's just going to tell you a little bit about that.
This is clinker from a firebox of a steam engine. And what they were done as they were travelling along, they would move the grate and get it all to drop out at the bottom so they could refire the locomotive to a better standard.
Just more evidence of the train track that once crossed here. So where I've walked from now, from that bridge, is there. This would have been a raised embankment. And just a little bit further along from where I am, 2 gate posts. Actually, not to a field, no fence either side. You see my shadow there, sorry. These were originally gate posts across the line. Now, although there's no traces of that track there's no embankment, when we look down on here, we can see at the bottom of them gate posts, it's raised up, and it's probably raised up about a foot from there down to there. Just got a little bit more evidence for the track that was here. The gate's still here, still got the hinges on. I can tell I'm a foot higher up when I'm on this side of the gate compared to that side. And whoever used it last closed it, and it's still closed. So with the bridge behind me that we've just gone to, it crossed straight across there. The Driffield bypass wasn't here, that was built in 1981 I think. And then there is a little bit of track bed just there, and then there is a gatehouse, so we'll go see that next. So I've crossed the bypass, the gate posts are there. That is the track bed, and we'll continue on a bit more. So here now we're at a crossing. This was a gatekeeper's cottage, now a private residence. It's called the gatehouse. The track was at this side running across there. If I turn around and just look here, the gate post out on its own, and that's what the gates would have been attached to, blocking this road off from traffic. There'd have been another one probably around there somewhere. Track goes from up there, crossing the road here and up there. Now you used to be able to walk up there, but it's all been fenced off now. It looks like private land. And it's follow those trees all the way up there, and that'll take us to our next destination. Okay, so I've zoomed right in there. What you can see is that little gap in the fence. Over there is a clump of trees, and on the other side of that is the gatehouse that we've just come from. The line would have run through that gap in the hedge there, all the way up to where I am now. I'm going to zoom out because that's quite a distance off, and that's there. So as you can see, that's a fair distance off, and the track would have run more or less where I'm stood through here into this clump of trees. Now it's difficult to see on camera, but that clump of trees goes from there to there, and there would have been a farm crossing here. Now there is some remains in that little clump of wood, and it's a square, and I'll put on an aerial map for you, an old map, so you can see what was there, like some kind of old gatehouse. Now to get us a bit more perspective, that forest or wood that you can see there is the back of Driffield RAF camp. Now I've read online that the Driffield to Malton train track had military pillboxes and bunkers along its route, but nobody's been able to say they found any evidence of it. But I found some at here, so I don't know whether this is something to do with the RAF camp or whether it's to do with the train line, or both. The train line was used for military purposes, particularly for the airfields, as I mentioned earlier, and there is a really good intact bunker here. And we can get inside and we'll have a look. I think this is a Type 22 bunker. Let's have a look in there. I have covered one of these bunkers before. Goodness me, it's a very small entrance hall. And we'll just let the light adjust. So as we're looking inside now, we've still got some metalwork in position around the slit holes. And there we go. Wow, this is pretty cool. Probably one of the most intact ones I've seen in a long time. I don't know if it's too bright. That's there. And this window here is looking out over to the camp and the railway track. So this is pretty cool. Never knew this was here. We'll go back outside. So that's pretty cool inside there. Really pleased with that. Whether that's to do with the railway line or the airfield or both, not really certain. So we'll go into this little wooded area and we'll have a look around there. So this copse of wood, it's definitely a squared off one, and down there, and it's the same there. And we've got gate posts here, still with the metalwork attached, where a gate once swung and caught. Down here we've got the remains of a footpath. I'll go around the back of this tree so you can see that edge there. I have scraped a bit off so you can see it a bit clearer down there. And then here there is the remains of a brick wall still in place. Brick goes along there, and there is a return of that brick wall down there. The train track would have run approximately here and up through them fields up there to the next train station, but there is a track for farmers to use there. And if I bring you over here, I am now stood about where the train track was, and if we look over here where I'm going, you might be able to see two fence posts. I have no doubt these are from the period of when this was built. Now I'm not certain if this was some kind of crossing or whether it was access to whatever stood here. I believe this is shown on the maps, so I'll put that up and you can have a look and see what you think. So the train would have come through here, probably hit me if it was running now, and then it would have gone straight out over those fields, right over in the distance there are some buildings. It would have gone straight across there. It's a scrapyard these days, but the building is still there, and that is Garton train station. That is our next destination. As you can hear, the dog's going mad that we're here filming, protecting the property. This is Garton Station. It was opened in 1953 and it reportedly did the fewest passengers. It was closed in 1950. This station did have a raised platform after 1895 it was raised. So where we're stood right now is the crossing, and this had a small goodyards with 3 sidings on it, and it's now a private residence, and it is called Station House. What we're looking at here is Garton Slack Crossing there, and the train line used to run across here, right there, into where these woods are here. If we look, we can still see the embankment in there. We will go in there a little bit because we are allowed to walk up that, so I don't know if you can quite see the embankment, but like I say, we'll go in there and we'll walk up there so you can see it a bit clearer. Might be able to see a bit better from this side. In there, that's the track. There's the embankment down there, so we'll go along there a little bit in a moment. So Garton Slack Crossing is on my left, and the railway track we're going to go to now is down there. So at the moment I'm walking on a railway embankment. I'll turn the camera around so you can have a look. So I'm out with my brother today, and it was a single track line, and this is the embankment down here, look. So this railway was completely disused by 1958, so all this growth is from that time. There's a building there, but I don't think it's to do with the railway. I think that's to do with the quarry that is just through there. So we're going to continue walking this, and if I find anything of interest, we'll come back onto it and I'll see what else we've got. Okay, so I've come down the side of the embankment. You can see how high that is up there, all the way across up there, but for some reason this part's been dug out, and you can actually see in there a cross section on how they built this up. Look, looks like it's all been built up on chalk. You can see how high that is there. It's probably what, 10 feet up above the ground. We'll continue on and see what else we can find. So that's the embankment I've just come down, and our dig out is about there, and this is where the road surface comes up to actually join where the track bed ran, and that ran all the way through there. Now there is nothing remaining of the track down there, so what we'll do is we'll skip on to the next destination, and we'll see what's there. So this is the site of Wetwang station. This was reportedly to be the busiest on the line. Again, another one for the Malton Dodger. It's not too far away from the town of Wetwang, which is up there, or village, but it's still a bit of a trek. It's not actually at the village. This had an 18-inch platform, as did all of the stations on this line. They were all lower. That was due to cost cutting. It doesn't have a platform anymore. That was destroyed in the 1990s sometime. And again, this station closed in 1958. You can see quite clearly in the distance, when you're away from this building, where the line used to run. So we'll go up to the top of the hill, and I'll take a shot and I'll point it out to you. That is Wetwang station. So I've come up onto the hill here so you can overlook Wetwang station there. And it used to cross the road here, did this line, and run through these fields there. Now that there's an embankment, but I'm going to zoom it in here because you can see in that field, that line where the train used to run. Right across there. And there's the embankment there. And it continues on. And we'll move on and we'll see what else we can find. So, where we've just come from is down there. This is the original track bed, still coming round here. If our turn is round, we've got some gate posts here. These could very well be original. They do seem to match up with some other stuff. When I say original, I don't mean from when the track was very first built, but later on in its life, these still remain in here. And there's one there. Now the track would have gone in that direction, and it looks like there's a gate post there of the same design of these that has probably been moved. So what I'll do is I'll go over onto this pile of rubble. There was likely something here on a map. It does show you that there were buildings here, but I've had a look through this rubble and it all seems a bit modern. So if we can get on top of here, excuse the wind, there we go. The track goes round there to Fimber Halt, which is where we'll be going next, and that's where it's come from Wetwang, round there. Alright, so we'll catch up with you at Fimber Halt. So where I am now is at Fimber Halt train station, later renamed Fimber and Sledmere station. I'm walking on pretty much what was the track bed. So this station doesn't exist anymore, it's been demolished, it fell into disrepair, but this had the most sidings on the site. If you look behind me, this is where the station was, in there. And if I spin around a little bit more, you can see it's quite a big expanse of an area over my shoulder, and this was all sidings. Now people will tell you there's nothing left of this station, but I can tell you there is, and I'm going to show you it today whilst I'm here. It isn't a lot, but there is the evidence of it being here. Turn the camera around and we'll have a look. So this train station isn't far from quite a well-heeled area called Sledmere, and in 1880 Queen Victoria came here. That wasn't the only royal visitor. In 1948 I think it was, King George also came with the then Princess Elizabeth, who went later on to be Queen. As you can see, there's not a lot there to see at the moment. However, the eagle-eyed amongst you may have noticed this, that there, all the way along here, and I'm going to go in for a close-up and show you what that is. And there is also something remaining behind this clump of trees. So I did hear a rumour about this thing still existing, so I've been up, I've had a look, I've scraped off some soil, and what you can see there is the remains of the platform edge. I will put some photographs up for you so you can see what this place was like, and I think that there is the location of the station house. There is still a gate crossing building here, but that's been turned into a private residence. And then this train where I'm stood now is on the track bed, and that will have gone straight over there through to that clump of trees and down towards Burdale, which we'll be heading to shortly. So I'm going to go around the back of the platform and show you what's left from the other side. I have been traipsing about to have a look. Again, this was another one that was closed in 1958. If we look in this tree here, brickwork. I suspect this brickwork could be part of the platform as well. There we've got a coping stone, platform edge, and coming back round here to the other side of what I just showed you, you can see in there that's definitely the back of the platform. Look at the state of the brickwork from this side. I'm sure if we cleaned it off at the other side it'd be in quite good order. And it continues all the way down here. This isn't all that's left. There's a huge lump of wood here. That there, that is right up against the back of the platform. We'll continue going around a little bit more, see what else we can see. And as you can see, it's all in disarray down by this point and peters away to virtually nothing over there. That's probably where it sloped down at some point. But going through here, we've got old drains, clearly disused. And going over here, we've got definite evidence of railway. We're going to go over to it. I'm not certain what this would have been used for, whether it might have been a coal bunker for the property that was here, or an electrics box, or signals cabling. If anybody knows what these were, put it down in the comments for me, please. I read every single comment. And don't forget to like, share and subscribe. You see, you got that huge tree growing out there. Look at the size of that. I mean, when this line was completely closed in 58, that'd be when that tree started growing, no doubt. Now this line is not completely dead, because over in the distance there is the Yorkshire Wolds Railway. I won't be covering that today, but we will get there in a future episode. All this over here would have been sidings. I think there was 8 sidings that are known of have been here. And again, this is the platform from the other side. And there's that piece of wood there, look, from this side. Still existing, I have no doubt, from when the train station. There's another one there as well. We'll go and have a quick look around this one. How about that? I'll step down. Still got some kind of ironwork in there. More of a platform there. It goes off down there. But other than that, there doesn't seem to be a great deal left. We're just going to have a quick look over the road, but we're not going to talk too much about that. People say this line's dead, but it clearly isn't. I'll see you there in a moment. So what we're looking at there is the Fimber Gate crossing. It will look a bit of a hump in the road, and it will have gone down the front of that building into the train station area here. This is where it crossed, and this is now the station that never was. This is called Fimber Halt. This is the Yorkshire World's Heritage Railway. and they've opened a few hundred yards of the old track from Malton to Driffield on that line, exactly where it was. And they've got a few little trains on there and carriages, and you can actually come here and drive a train if you want to. They have got permission to extend the track by another 2 miles. As you can see, they've got a goods wagon, they've got a shunter there, they've got some goods wagons over there, passenger carriages there, a few things to look at and go around. I would suggest you come here and have a look, it's well worth the visit. I've been when it's open. And they are desperate for cash as everywhere else, so please feel free to find this website for the Yorkshire Wolds Railway and donate something, join them. It all helps fund reopen this line, and they need enough money to get that extra 2 miles written up as well. So what we'll do is we'll go across the other side of Fimber Halt, we'll continue, and we will get down to what was at Burdale station on our way. So a little bit further on from Fimber Halt, which is back that way, you can see this parapet here, I'll explain that in a moment, and then we'll go on that way there through Burdale. It was never really a successful line, but it did remain open for 100 years more. It was opened in 1846, but due to escalating costs, that's why it ended up being a single line, and the frauds of the railway king George Hudson himself had issues with all that because he was a fraudster. What I'm stood on here now is a huge bridge with probably about a 30 or 40 foot drop down to the track bed, completely all overgrown. It's a big deep cutting. The cutting has never been filled in, but sadly the bridge has been backfilled, so we can't get in there to see what it was like, but I will go around the side of it and show you down the backfilling and the depth of the cutting. So what we're looking at there is one of the parapet walls. As you see the size of that wall, it's huge. I'll just get our kid into shot so you can see the scale of that. And then if we go around the corner here, I can just pop you in there. I can get through slightly. I don't know if the depth of that is actually showing up, but that is huge, and sadly that is where it's been backfilled. I'll go down there a bit more, see if we can get any better angles, or just on how high that actually is. That is huge. It's at least 40 feet coming down, and again, that's our kid stood up there, so you can see how small he is now. All backfilled all the way down. Granted, while there isn't much left of the railway line itself, all the track was pulled up almost immediately and sold on for scrap. But as I may have said earlier in an earlier video, is people will tell you there's nothing left of this line. But actually there is. You just need to know where to look, and you need to go there and see this stuff. I can't see anything else up there. So we're going to be heading towards Burdale station, which is that way, and again our backfilled bridge, and that way would have been towards Fimber. So let's continue on our journey. So I've just stopped here to have a look at this section. That is where that bridge was, along the track that way, and then all through these fields here is an embankment. Now there's nothing left on there, it is just literally an embankment that continues all the way up there, and that's where we're heading, down that way. So if I zoom that in a little bit more, that just makes it that little bit clearer for you to see where that embankment is. Now we could get on there and walk along it, but there's just nothing on there to see. I thought this wide shot might be a little bit better. Alright, let's continue on. I am now stood up on the embankment of the railway. As you can see, there's a big old cut in here. That would have been made for farmers' access, or should I say would have been widened at farmers' access, because there was once a bridge here. And I'm going to show you some of those bridges now, because those still exist, and they are just up the track here. I'm looking along the edges, see if there's any posts or anything like that, any clues other than the huge embankment. This thing runs for miles, this embankment. I was pointing down the side there. Absolutely nothing left other than the embankment that's here, which is far too big to destroy for the farmers, just to have a little bit of land. And what do they do with all soil? Spread it out a bit. So coming up to this part here is our first farmers' access, which I find absolutely ridiculous that they built this here, because this is not the only one. The one we've just seen was one of these that's been destroyed. And there we go. Look at this. This would have had a bridge across it at one time, and we will get down in there for a closer look. But there's nothing there except a reasonably small field, and there's 3 accesses to it. So whether it was owned by 3 different farmers and they've had to put 3 different ways in, who knows? We'll get down here if I think I can go down this route. Look at fancy stonework on there, just for a farmer's access. I will get down there. Right. I've come down into the farmer's gate here with the farmer's access. You can see the size of this, substantial bit of brickwork. You can see how wide that is. I'm 6'1". It goes right through to the other side. It's the same design with these parapets here, even though this bit here has come down and it's destroyed a little bit. But there is another one just over there, so we'll go over there and have a look at that and see if we can get in it. Okay, so I've come over to the other one and I'm stood on it. That there is the track bed. I'll turn it around so you can see behind me as well. And the track bed, a lot better condition on that side, goes there. This one's all overgrown. That's probably had grazing sheep on it or something. There is a lovely kept field there, and it's all open for the animals, so they've been on there. So we'll get down here and we'll look through this one that I'm on, the old farmer's access, because this is in much better condition. Okay, so this is the farmer's access here. As you can see, this one ain't overgrown at all. You can see the stone plinths on the top there of where the track ran. This was actually built wide enough for 2 tracks. There was plans originally, I believe, to make it as a 2 tracks, but then converted to 1. All this sort of thing was contracted out to local builders, so that's why many of the structures are different. And again, we've got the fancy tops there with the ironwork on, and this is this. Okay, let's continue on up to Burdale and we'll see what other structures we can find, what are believed to have been lost and forgotten. So that embankment does a gradual climb along the roadside down there, right up here. I'm knackered just scrambling up the embankment, it's that big. This would have been a huge bridge, absolutely massive. It's been cut away from here down to there, and the abutments are still in situ. Now this was access to a private house, and beyond this is private property, but we were just up there. We've come down here and this has been lowered to this level here. I will go walk through that so you can actually see how big this structure is. You can see how wide that embankment is, all the way down there, right through to there, to be able to support this. This was a huge endeavour to build this railway track, especially one that's called the Malton Dodger, and it's called the Malton Dodger because it doesn't visit any of the villages it's named after. You know, every station we've been to so far is about a mile away minimum from the train station. So we'll go down there and we'll have a look at this these buttresses, and I'll show you how tall this bridge would have actually been. So here we are, and the access road to the road. So if I can just show you that there, huge. So we'll continue on to our next destination. So just a little way up from that bridge where we were is the site of Burdale train station. People again will tell you there's nothing left, but I'm here to show you different. Okay, so it's difficult to get to. We've got the original footpath up to the station, and up there is where the station was. So that's the path up there. Next to it we've got some ruins and rubble. I'll check it out and we'll see what we have. This doesn't look like anything other than somebody's put something together, but we have got steel work down here that weighs a ton, and I've got no idea what that is. Any ideas, anybody? Please put it in the comments. Steel box there, probably I don't know what that would have been. So we'll try and get up to the site of the platform. You can see the fence posts there going up here. There we go, that's part of the building there. There we go. These were the old steps. Rubble has come down. More rubble there. I will put you a picture up of what this place used to look like. But this ended up being disused and just falling into disrepair. There is rubble everywhere here. The track bed's quite clearly open, so we will walk on there. This is the platform edge. We'll go down there and have a look. I don't know what this hole represents or what that was for. But there's another platform over there. Likely sidings. This was getting to the busiest part of the line towards the end of its life with quarries, quarry work. And we've got this huge brick platform here. There's our footpath down, that's where we came up. And then we've got this concrete base here. And again, back over to the platform edge. There is a way down into the track bed, so we will go and have a look. This has all been collapsed here and taken away probably. Apologies if it's too windy. That's the platform edge. Down there. Look at this here, it's in really good condition, some of that. That's where we were just standing. That's where we're just standing. You can see the brickwork there. And that hole there matches up with that one there. And the platform goes all the way down there. And this platform here is another one there. There's a lot more here than what I thought was going to be here. I was led to believe there was nothing left. It was completely gone. I don't think it demolished, I think it just collapsed under its own weight. So there's nothing at this side. And that's that there. So I'll just walk right up to the end of what's left of the platform. You can see it going down or stop. And there it ends, look. That's the stone that curves down. So that was Burdale Station. This tree behind me is on the platform, and the rubble of the house I think is pretty much behind me down there. I hope you enjoyed this look around this old, abandoned and destroyed station. I don't think there's much else left to show of it. I'll show you where the house was right now. I think what I've found here is what's the remain of the coal drops or coal bunkers. There's 1, 2, 3, 4 there. We'll go down for a closer look. We've got rounded brick with a bit of an end on there as well at coping stone. Top's fairly intact here. So I'll try and get through there and show you the remains of where I believe the house stood. It did all collapse in on itself, it did fall apart, there was nothing left of it. And this is what it is. There's a bit of steel work down there, I don't know what that's for. Fairly big. There's little bits of steel everywhere really, but there's just nothing left of the house, but the platforms were intact. So we'll continue on our journey. The next main feature is down the railway line, which is there, and that's down towards Burdale Tunnel. So where we've come from is in those trees there, Burdale train station, and the track runs all the way along here. You can see that there. Round the corner there to Burdale Tunnel. This quarry, a chalk quarry, ended up being the main support for this line towards the end of its days. You can see the size of that, that is huge. There was loads of sidings down here for this quarry, and at the other side of the tunnel is another quarry, and it's where they ground all the chalk up, and we will show you that in another episode. In the meantime, let's try and get down to that tunnel and have a look. So the track came down there from Burdale over this way, and the quarry is just behind there, and you can see an old building there. That would most likely have something to do with the railway and the quarry when it was operational up until 1958. So we're going to carry on down here to Burdale Tunnel. So a little bit further along the line, Burdale being the way you're pointing now, we've got the remains of a railway building. And I know this was a railway building because we're at the side of the tunnel, which is just in there, and there is another one of these at the other side. I'm not sure if there were plate layer boxes or some kind of signal box to let them know that there's one train already in the tunnel. That bit there looks like part of the chimney still intact. There is a better one at the other side of the tunnel when we get there. So in the meantime, I'm going to continue to walk up to that tunnel. Burdale Tunnel, a nice ornate entrance. The entranceway is actually wide enough to take 2 trains. And this is where they came into major problems financially with this place. Look at the size of that, look how ornate that is. And we can step up and I can just show you a little bit inside there. There we go. The Burdale Tunnel, part of the Driffield Junction to Malton railway line. So managed to get inside, so we're going to have a walk up. We're not going to go too far, it is dangerous. There's been 2 collapses. There was one in the 70s and one in the, I think it was 78, and the other one was in 88. So we'll go down and we'll see what we can see. It was originally open for 2 tracks, and I'll turn the camera around. I've got 2 friends with me, I've got a brother and a mate. Right, okay, so less than 100 metres in, we're already into where the tunnel was narrowed. It was originally for 2 tracks. They couldn't afford to continue to build the tunnel really, so it was decided to make it 1 track, and this is where they're narrowing it down. In this first part down here, there are no refuges at the side because they weren't needed, because it was eventually a single track, so we might find some up there. If we look up here, these are where cables were attached for signalling, communications. We'll continue walking into the darkness.
This is still old palace.
So we can see up there is still soot along the ceiling of the tunnel. I think it was 1,777 yards long, this tunnel, just shy of a mile. We'll continue on. We'll stop when we get to one of the collapses. And we've come across some more communication cable holders there. There's an amazing echo, I don't know if you can hear this. Hello? 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 Great stuff. Let's continue on. So we've come across the drainage system of the tunnel. This was plagued and dogged with water problems throughout. When originally they decided to build this tunnel, it was said that it would be through solid chalk, dry chalk, but as it turns out, it's incredibly wet and 3/4 of the tunnel, or 2/3 I think it was actually, 2/3 of the tunnel ended up being built through shale. So we're a good length into the tunnel. Back there's the entrance. We'll come across these forming joists, whether they're for the original building or part of a repair for the ceiling. I don't see anything up there, but interesting. And now the tunnel's all brick, both sides. Back down there, halfway up the wall, it was stone. So we've come across our first air shaft. We will be going up there for a look, and I'll show you what that looks like from the top. It's oval shaped and not round, that. So we'll continue on, see how far we can get. It's getting very wet down here now. Okay, so I might try and get across there, get a little bit closer to that collapse. You can see how wet this is. It is like it's having a heavy rain shower down here. I'll shine it into the water so you can see. And we'll go back down there, that's to the first collapse. There are some stepping stones across there. It looks about, I don't know, 4 or 5 inches deep. Might go a little bit further, see what we can see.
Do you want me to try it?
So this is the very edge of the collapse. Look at this, where it's blasting off, getting soaked with moisture, absorbing into brick and just shearing away from the wall. And that's what it's like inside there. If we go, we're trying to keep our voices down because we don't want to disturb anything.
Chop a bit out and then it'll be layers will chop, won't it?
As you can see right at the back there on the left, there is a huge piece that's fallen away. It is quite scary here because this could potentially collapse at any moment without any warning, and I think we have probably spent enough time in here already and we're just going to head back. There's no way any of us are prepared to go over there, is there? Are you prepared to go over that? No, none of us want to go over that. This is incredibly dangerous and we're right on the edge of it. You can imagine how difficult it would have been to chip out this chalk with imminent collapses as they're doing it. You see how thick the walls are here. Up there, look. There was one death making the railway tunnel. It did come to a stop at one point with only minimal workers just helping with the drainage while they decided to sort the finances out, and then they continued on. And what we'll do is from here we'll go around and look at the is it the north portal at that side? Yeah. We'll go to the north portal and we've just entered through the south portal, and I'll show you the vents, and we can't get to any further vents. It doesn't look like we can see anything up there. They've just gone a bit further up to see what it looks like.
on behind it.
So when they took this track up, they were pretty thorough on pretty much everything, and this is the only part of railway track we've come across so far, and we're at the Burdale tunnel. This fish plate is for joining tracks together. Still here after it closed in 1958.
Don't know, it's that number
There's a
5.
number 5 here on the wall. Goodness knows what that means. Wooden back made out of some kind of metal. There was another number next to it clearly. I wonder if it means 50 metres or something, or I don't know. There's the entrance there. And there are some little grips on the side of the walls up here. I'll just show you these. We don't know what these are for. This is part of the tunnel that's got no refuges, and we didn't see any refuges up there, but there's this. Clearly ancient iron. So whether this is something for people to hold on to when a train goes past to stop them getting sucked under, maybe. You don't know. If you do know, drop a comment. Also, while I'm on with that, if you are enjoying this, please like, share and subscribe. This is on our way back out now, heading towards the light. And what have we got down here? Some kind of pin. You see the size of that, and that's ancient. That's probably for putting the track down with. Is that right, Steve? Is that what that would be?
Good question, I don't know, but it's not threaded, so it would have been used to bottom to sleeper like normally would be, but I don't know what that's for. Could have been part of the cabling system.
You can see up there. I don't know if you can see how wet that is in the camera, but some parts that we've just come through. Why is that light reflecting up there on the ceiling?
Off the water.
Off the water back here.
Look at that.
Calcium deposits.
Yeah, there's quite a big. There isn't much of that in this tunnel, is there? Surprisingly. But yeah, there's some there, and some little bits here. That one's quite thick though. It's not very big, but it's got some depth to it. Right, we'll continue. We'll get out this tunnel and we'll go across the top and look at some air vents. See how much water is coming out of there, and that is no way draining any of the water through there, even though these days it's all broken and disrepaired. Look how much is still coming out. So this is what's left of one on top of the air vents. It did used to be built up like a funnel, but now it's been taken down, capped over, and got a vent over it. This is the one that we saw from down below. Never see anything in there. That's that. And we'll see if we can find the other two, which should be in that wood there. Having said that, I am on a huge mound next to this. If I go across there, the field's down there, and it's possible, rather than that being taken down, that all this spoil mound that I'm stood on could have been shoved up against it, because that, if that was another 10 or 20 feet higher, I'm already 20 feet above that field level there. So it could be possible that this has just had all this shoved up around it to support it, rather than it being taken down. So there's two options there. I'll let you decide, but if you do actually know, please write that in the comments. It's really windy up here. I hope you can hear me. This is the site of the second air entry. This is the collapse, what we saw inside. So as you can see, you don't want to be getting near that, and you certainly don't want to be trying jumping up and down on it. The tree roots are probably stabilised a little bit. And just round here is the spoil heap from when they were digging it out. There's a cycle track or a footpath up there now, but that mound there is probably the spoil heap from when they're digging the tunnel out. We'll see if we can find the third air vent. Found it. This is the third one and the only one that remains like this. Modern grating on the top. I suspect these were at one time just open. They weren't the idiots like what they are today. Looks like original copings on the top. This is our third and final air shaft. And next we'll be heading to the other portal and I'll show you what that's like. Right, so there's our air shaft there, our third one, and if I zoom it out you can see the lay of the land a bit better, and all this mound here would have been spoil, because when they used to dig down the tunnels they used to work both ways as well, and they'd probably have had little barrows on tracks coming out here and tipping it out further out until we got this far. Now we'll go to the other portal. So what we're looking at here is what looks like a sinkhole of some kind. It's not lined with any brick, obviously, I should say. Obvious to me, I mean. But there were more than 3 shafts originally for ventilation when they were constructing the tunnel. So whether this is something like that that has collapsed in, or whether it is just another collapse into the tunnel, because I am right above that tunnel here. I'll continue on, and if I see anything else of interest, I'll film it. So we're following the track, even though we're above ground, and the tunnel, the Burdale tunnel, is underneath us. So we found the capped off one, collapsed one, intact one, potentially another collapsed one. Now I always thought there was 3, but my brother, somewhat of a train expert, says there's 5. Now that's 4 we've discovered, and walking along the track top we've found this one here. This is the 5th one. We'll move right up to it, same construction as the other one. You can hear them talking in the background there, they're just talking about this. Somebody has put a ladder up next to that, so I will climb up it and just film the top of it, because there's no way I can see anything down there as we go all the way around. Again, this will be all spoil in this direction. They would have had like a little trolley that tips and extending it as they go along, and there it is again. So I'll climb up that ladder and we'll have a look down. Right, I'm hoping I don't drop my phone here, because I'm filming on my phone. But there's the top. I'm going to hold my phone tightly. I'm going to raise you over. And that is about as far down as we can see. That is literally terrifying to look down there. Now we're going to continue on, because our porthole is that way, and if we see any more interesting things along the way I'll film them. So I've got a torch now. You see the soot down there. I'm not picking it up on the camera, but I can see the bottom. Okay, very good. Well, fuck me. There's our ventilation shaft there. Going to zoom out because you can see this spoil heap really well coming out here. All what they dug out is all this. Right back to it there. Fantastic. And to get you a little perspective on just how big that is, that's my brother and my pal down there. The mystery man you've probably seen in some of my other videos. Huge. Alright, made it across the top of the tunnel to the back. This is the north portal. This is the back of it. As you can see, it's really quite plain compared to the other side. What I'll do is I'm down. Yeah. I am definitely filthy. I'll get a picture of that for you. There we go. Down. This is, oh, terribly slippy. I'm almost sliding down here. This side will be like a canal. If I get to the edge, you cannot get in here, and this is also now a bat sanctuary these days, so you should not be going in here anyway. But you can see the problems of the flooding right now. There's your back door. That's the end exit going towards Malton. And this is what's left all down here. You can see how wet it is. Look at the greenery just growing out of there. It's been shored up, single track, and up there is a farmer's bridge and a quarry. And next we're going to be going up to Wharram Quarry, and we'll see what's up on the left around there. As you can see, absolutely drenched down there. I'll turn the camera around so you can have a look. And that is what I was looking at. This tunnel was dogged with problems from the start. I don't think that will ever be possible to reopen that. And what I'm going to do is we'll walk down there. There are some pictures of trains around here. I will try and see if I can match anything up. Take a photograph of it and see if we can overlay it for you. So I'll continue on the track bed. And with my brother and one of my friends, you might hear them in the background or see them. They're just advisors on this. Okay, so there's our tunnel. In the meantime, we'll continue on. So the portal's there. This is the actual track bed now. It is quite literally like a river or canal when you get down the bank side, and we're going up to that farmer's access there. What we have here is either a plate layer's hut, or it's something to do where they would carry the hoops to go through the tunnel to let somebody know that there was a train inside. Now if you go back to the last episode, you'll see the one at the other end. This is what it should look like. So we will go a bit closer and we'll go inside and we'll have a look inside this one. Okay, so you can see outside, still got some slates on this side. The other side's fairly complete. Chimney's still up there. And this is what we have inside. Window at that side. I'm looking through a window. The window's still here. Latch on the door, plaster on that wall, architrave round it. As you can see, if you look up there, it's an old lat ceiling, horsehair plaster probably. The age of this when this was built. Don't forget this line opened, I think it was 1848. Cupboard at the side there for the bits, probably would have been another one here. That's the fireplace. And where they'd have done some cooking as well. We've got air vents round the bottom there. I imagine it would have been quite a cosy little hut back in the day. If we go around to where I show you where the door is, this is a firebox here. This would have been used for heating and probably even cooking something on. There's our door. It's quite a step up, so this land has obviously collapsed and washed away. I think there was wooden steps at one time into this place. There we go. This is them. See the metalwork here? And another one there. Just broken and come away. And then we'll have a look at this side. That's what we're looking at here. We'll continue on the line and we'll see what we'll come across next. So as we look at this side here, you can see the roof's not too bad. I mean, it's knackered, don't get me wrong, but when we go to the back here, you can see how that tree there growing here has bored that in. This will eventually collapse because of that tree, I would have imagined. Right, let's continue on. That is our hut in the distance. You can see where we've just been. I'm now back on the track bed. There is a little stream at the side of it here that is running towards, oh sorry, this one's running away from the tunnel. And if we go over the other side as well, we've got this, where the water has eroded away the top of it, and it should be coming down them steps, but it's now coming down the side of it there. So this is our farmer's bridge. It's in very poor condition, is this one. If I show you some of the brickwork here, you'll just see how bad it is. It's quite a wide bridge, but look at that. And we've got trees growing out of it up there. It is still in use, believe it or not, this. And you can see there where that tree is probably holding that in position. Now, they didn't just build this bridge, they did build that water course as well. And you can see down here they've built a channel for the beck to go along. Even then they've put coping stones all along there. There's our bridge, you can see how much it's given away up there. This is on top of that bridge that we were just looking at, panelled at the sides. Probably one of my friends suggested for livestock, so it won't get caught and tangled in any sides. See the ironwork there. That's the track bed down there, and this is our hut. Track bed down there. It's wide enough for a tractor, this. It's probably narrower than it was originally. And now a track bed goes off up there, and that's where we'll be going. But if I hang you over, you can see the pillar there. Can you see that? I hope I've got that in shot, I don't actually know. But it looks like the bridge is wider than what's here today, so it's very unlikely that this is the original bridge. However, we have got a really old gate post there, what we've seen constantly throughout this journey, and one at this side as well. Probably old enough to be original, that. And there's our first intact farmer's bridge. So we're now walking along the track bed. This is towards Wharram, Percy, Wharram station, but there's also a lime kiln up here, what would have kept the line busy. I think this one opened in about the 1920s and operated until the line closed. There are things left there intact. There was a number of sidings, I don't know if any of those exist. They were privately run, the sidings, they had nothing to do with the rail company. But we'll go up there and we'll have a look and we'll see what remains of the industry that helped keep this line alive long after it should have closed. So what you can see in the distance there is a big old tower. That's Wharram, Percy chalk quarry and lime mill. We'll get up there. When I get a bit closer, we'll turn the camera back on and we'll go and explore that. So as we're walking up to the quarry, we've spotted a lot of boundary marker posts, that wooden one there, but if you look past there, you'll see a concrete one. Now that could mark the start of the sidings for the trains to get up to there, which will give them a nice long gradient and a suitable curve to be able to get up there, which will become relevant when I show you around that place. So that concrete post is about there. Now the track bed that we've been walking along is over to the right, and here would have been loads of private sidings going into that big building that you can see in the background there. Now you'll be able to see the land going up slightly there, an embankment going into the lime mill, and we'll go in there next and I'll show you where this track will be going to and where the track went to get the lime from the mill back onto the main line. Now I'm walking away from the quarry, what you can see behind me there, and I'm walking towards what was the production site, turning the chalk into lime. I'll give you a brief look round, but I'm also going to put a link in the video to when this site was in operation, and you'll be able to see exactly what I'm talking about. So our track bed is there for the lime factory going across here. We can't go across there because it is so overgrown, but what we can do is I can show you it from another direction. That in front of me is difficult to know what a lot of this stuff was because it was so long ago, bearing in mind this shut in 1958. That is likely a workshop where they did the repairs for all the equipment, and I'll show you what that looks like inside. One of my friends has advised me on this. This is what he does in relation to as a job. Now this is it inside. Still metal work. It's still got a roller shutter up there, look. Absolutely gone though, and those are in situ. A farmer has been in here, so the layout has altered. He's built pig pens in here. That's what these bits are down here. We've got all the hooks up on the wall and up on that side as well. RSJs across the back there. And this is probably where they're doing heavy equipment with the size of the door. Look at the beautiful brickwork on there, on that arch, look. It's just a simple factory. You don't get that anymore. We'll go through into here. This is more than likely related to the workshop, probably for more lighter duties, looking at the doorway. There was a fireplace here that's been vandalised and gone, and we've got the flue up there. A big room, and of course the graffiti artists have been down. At least it's clean and not a knob. Now if you remember the embankment we've just come from, it would run across the top of this. Now whether this was more than a bridge or some kind of drop, we don't know. We seem to think it was perhaps just a bridge, maybe a coal drop, because they would have had to have got coal in somewhere, because of course this would have all been powered by steam. And we go up the side here. I'm going to try and get into this building here. This is from the quarry, this part. Difficult to get up this embankment. I don't want to be slipping. There we go. Now that's the quarry, that direction. That could have potentially been for, well it was, they carried across here from the quarry, so a train track would have come across there on this rise to here. And this is where the raw chalk would have been dropped, and we can see down here how it's been impacted and some of it remains. The carriage would have been side tippers, so eventually they would have gone out that way. There's more of an embankment that way, but there'd been side tippers going into here. That's probably more than likely where they've caught and damaged over the years, and it would have gone down into this machine here. No machinery left, but that's where it would have been grinded down into lime. Now you can see that bit there, that'll become important in a minute. That was an elevator. That's where the powdered lime would have come from. And once tipped, the trains would have continued out here. These would have been little shunters, bearing in mind, out on this embankment to let the next carriage tip. Now this is outside. That is the elevator, what would have dumped the lime into the silos, and at the top would have likely been the workings and moving across into the silos. There is some ladders outside here. Like I say, this closed in around 1958. It would have been the lifeline of the railway line that we're walking along, which is there. But this had a lot of sidings, did this place. It was a very busy place. We're not certain what this is for. Perhaps for washing something, we don't know. But you can see the stairs up to the rooms at the top. That would have been monitoring the elevators and the silos. And if we look down here, our track bed is there, the Driffield to Malton line. This big expanse is flat, and the reason for that is the trains leaving the quarry and the mill with the crushed lime would have used these sidings to get back onto the main line. There are still some posts in place. I'll show you these. Our lines there, just where that green grass is. We've got all these demarcation lines for the edge of the property. There's our silo. It's absolutely huge. And it was likely 4 silos in there, keeping it all separate, because if it was all one it would all become compact and you'd never get it out. Now I want you to go look at the video that I'm going to link in, because you'll see this in operation. These were train tracks through both of those, and this is where they would have loaded the trains with the lime. There is still actually some workings in place here. You can see those levers. That's them. And there's a pulley up there, and that would have gone through these. If you look up there, when I move that, I'll get my hand out of the way, you can see that trying to close up there, and that would have gone across to that pulley there and lashed down to here. And of course no health and safety in them days, no respirators, so somebody would have been pulling here and hooking a chain in there to stop it. They'd have been counterweighted, because you can't do that manually without any sort of help or assistance. That's pretty much this chalk mill, lime mill, quarry, what kept this line alive for many more years after it closed for passengers. I think it closed in passengers in 1954. But further up here there is supposed to be some lime kilns. The lime kilns, I thought they predated the mill, but they don't. Now they'd fire lime for different reasons, for different uses, for like agriculture or steel working, and these are massive. That doorway there, for that, there's 4 of them. I'll show you the other 2, but these are the 2 intact ones. They were fired from down here, and then they were heated up and then fire out, and then they would have raked out all the lime and loaded it up, probably onto train carriages here for the line over there. It's difficult to see what's going on with some of these. and we will go at the top and have a look. But that entrance there must be 7 foot tall, if not more, if it was dug down to its proper depth. And there's some here that are collapsed. There was maybe 5 by the looks of it. We'll go through here. There we go. That's the one we were just at. 1, 2, 3, 4. And as you can see how they're constructed here. They're round there at the top where the line would have gone in. We'll go in and have a look. And then they had insulating walls either side. And now you can see inside that one there, and that's what they were built like inside. Been reinforced with these huge concrete pillars. Now at the top of that first kiln what I showed you, you can see what it's like inside there, and it goes down to a cone shape at the bottom. So that's that one. And then if we go down to this one, this is being filled in, you can still see the lines sticking to the bricks. And I'll show you at the bottom of there too. Brilliant. I hope you've enjoyed the look around those. The quarry is behind me in these trees here. You see that there. And then the way we're going is up here, and we should be able to see the remains of some coal drops. I'll try and match some photographs up. The train station is actually still there, so that'll be interesting to see. If there's anything else along the way, I'm out with my friend again, the mystery man who's always in the background in recent videos, and our kid. So if we see any other interesting things along the way, we'll be walking this route today from Wharram Street up to, hopefully, as far as North Grimston. And if there's anything else interesting, like posts or potential track or anything like that, I'll be sure to film it for you. What we can see there is the lime quarry. The track will have come here, and then we'll start splitting here to go up towards the coal drop. Now I'll turn it round. Main line going straight on, and then just over the side of this fence we'll start to see the rise of an embankment. And that is the start of where the coal drop is. There was also a passing loop at this station, the only one on the line. We're almost at the highest point of this line to Malton, which is just a little bit past Wharram Street station, and then it'll start dropping down into Malton. And if we just look through there, we can see, I'll find a clearer one for you, some boundary markers of where the line was. I'll see if I can point 1 or 2 out. This one here, boundary marker, and then when we go through there, another one there, and there are a few going up this way, and now we can definitely see a rise in the land of an embankment, which is here. It'll get more and more prominent as we're going up there, and that'll take us up to the coal drops, and then down this way will take us to the station. Right, coming along, this is the embankment for the coal drop. It's on private property, so we can't get on there, but we can see some steps. They do look as though they could have been placed there when the line was built, so probably original. We're still following this track bed, which will go along that way through into somebody's private garden, so we can't go there. We'll continue on following this embankment. I'll show you the coal drops, and then you can just make out here behind there's an old water tower, and there is a photograph of this, and I'll insert that somewhere around here now. Okay, so a little bit further on, this is where the main line would go down there, which from our point of view is this side of the water tower and that bit of hedging there, which wouldn't have been there because this would have been train lines. Passing loop, really busy area this. Still going along up to the coal drops. I know that looks like an old rail cart, but it is not. And then we're coming along here a little bit further and we'll see where the embankment drops off, where it ends with a brick wall, which is there. So the trains would have come across the top of this, across the top of these. We'll move along a little bit further. There's a little bit of wooden fencing down there, I suppose that relating to this. It is a bit damaged and destroyed, this, but you can see how big it is, how many there are. So the train would have come across the top of there. There would have been a wall here that's broken, wall there, and ended there. And the trains would have come across the top here and dumped the coal out the bottom.
Hi, what we've got here are rail buffers. So the track would have come up here and this prevented any carriages wandering further up. What's quite unusual about these are made out of rails. And these are really old rails because they're double-sided. You can tell how old they are with that. What they used to do is turn the rail over and use the reverse side if it wore out. Down here we've got a platform where this is actually a cattle drop with dirt quite near, and we've got sort of a slightly raised area here. And down here got the old platform that the trains would have come up and down on, part of the sidings.
So I'm now on the track bed of the actual railway. The coal drop's been over there, the other line with the buffers running up there, and where I'm stood is the actual rail bed. We've got evidence down here all the way along there, supporting that further embankment with a bit of a hole down there. I don't know what that was for. Along here, whether that could be part of the original 18-inch platform before it was raised, I'm uncertain. This train station here was from 1853 to 1958, and it had a passing loop which could be related to this here, and you can see the size of this platform here. Look, it does look like it's been taken down. This also had a water tank with a brick base and a cast iron top. The cast iron top is no longer here, and I'll tell you about that in a moment, but this magnificent structure is what remains of the water tank. Now you can get inside these, and we're going to look at it all up there. Pillars have come down, that edge is down here on the floor, along with the copings there. Looks like the house owners are using it as a shed. Still got an original door on there. And that's it from this side. Now the actual train line ran where I'm stood, in between this platform edge here and this tank, as you've been shown by some photographs that I've put up, and it went straight through there. This is the train station. As you can see, there is a remainder of a platform here. That's the station house. It is on private property, we are not allowed on. So that's that. So I've been a bit cheeky and I've asked to come onto the property. This is what remains of the platform. I can't thank the gentleman enough for letting me come on and do this and film this. That's there. And then I think we'll get some photographs, match them up, and hope you like them. And that's the station house from this side. approach this bridge, we'll notice the copings are in quite poor condition. And we'll go down underneath this one and have a look. Another farmer's access, probably about 200 metres from the road at the far side. We've got concrete at the top of that bridge, and as we notice there is a change of brick. Which is quite significant at this point. And along there you can see that change of brick. That'll be the original brick, and it's the same there. If you look at that, all the embankment and the concrete at the edge will be replaced. It's likely this bridge has collapsed. Or even knocked down at some point. We can see the supporting edges there have just completely collapsed and gone. We can see the original brickwork there, and this concrete across the top. Definitely more modern. I couldn't see any sign of rubble from when the bridge got knocked down. Very likely taken away and used as hardcore somewhere. Moving a little bit further up the track, which is there, and round there, we came across this gullyway, and in that gullyway we found a really old lime kiln. This is the first one we came across. There are known lime kilns in this area, but this one hasn't been marked on any maps, and we did come off the track to find it. It is well hidden. As you can see the condition of that, and on the top of there is where they would have filled it. But looking inside there, that is pretty well collapsed. And we'll go to the map at the end of this as well. That gullyway there was a tramway. This wouldn't have been a mechanical tram, it would have been horse and cart. Imagine how canal boats used to be pulled with horses. That is likely what this would have been. This was long before the railway came here, and there are still some fence posts marking it out. So now we've come on to another farmer's access. Huge bridge, huge stonework, ironwork at the top here. And I won't get down there because that is private land, but I'll try and get a little bit further down the embankment to show you just what this is like. And we'll see if it's an arch or not. If you just look at the ground. I don't know if you can actually pick that up, but that is just coke and coals. Oh, this is absolutely magnificent when I bring this camera to this bridge. And we look at that side there, look at the arch here, absolutely amazing. We've got some strengtheners on there as well. That is one big bridge, stone throughout. I can't get down, we can see it is all fenced off. I don't want to be encroaching any more on there. That's that side. We'll go over to this side now. Again, huge pieces of stonework and ironwork on the top still. Concrete additional post at the end. Tree growing out of it. And again, when we look at that, what an absolutely magnificent bridge this one is. Absolutely beautiful. And now we're going to continue on down that track. Like I keep saying, there is something really special down there, and we'll go see that next. So we walked up there, and this is where we started. I'm coming along here. This is where this is roughly where one of the bridges are. You can see the path going through to the main road. We continue to walk up here, and it was about this region here where the lime kiln is and the tramway which ran along them trees, and then the ornate bridge we've just been to is here. And then in the next episode we are going to explore what this is and that, and what is inside there. And behind me is what you can see as part of that story. We are still continuing on from Wharram Street to Grimston station. We're just over halfway across. A little bit back there was the highest point on the railway line, which is at around 345 metres above sea level, so it's all been uphill all the way for the train so far. Driffield I think is about 70 metres above sea level, and now it will be all downhill into Malton, although not greatly steeply downhill, gradual gradient. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about this building behind me, what's in the woods over there, and then we're going to continue on up to Grimston station, taking in a few bridges that are left to see, more than what I thought there was, and I hope you enjoy this episode. So what we're looking at here are foreman houses for a quarry, which is just over there in the woods. This place was open long before the railway came here. Quite a beautiful location. I'll give it a pan around shortly so you can have a look. These properties were probably built in the early 1800s, late 1700s. The railway came here in 1850s, I think it was, wasn't it? Yeah, 1855 when the Grimston station, 1853 when the line was opened officially for passengers. This house would have been stood here long before then. So this quarry was operational up until about 1925. As you can see, we've got the old oven. It's likely to be the kitchen, or one of the kitchens. And this is part of into the house, 2-storey. Still small beams there. 2 fireplaces. And this would have been the front of the building going that way, which we will go to next. I think the last quarry foreman here was a chap called John Staples. And his wife was the last person to live in these properties. This is the front. And that was up until 1951. And if we're going the end building here, this looks like a separate property. Doesn't seem to be any doorways through. And we've got the 2 fireplaces there. Going back along the front of the building. Yes, she lived up here until 1951. They did have a son. He was called Joseph Staples, and he fought in the First World War. Let's have a look. This is the sort of view they would have had from their kitchen window. As you can see, there's another ruined property down there. So their son, Joseph Staples, was in the Northumberland Fusiliers, and he died on the 1st of July 1916. Some of you might already be thinking about that date. He's buried at Bougencourt Cemetery, which is in France, which is a cemetery for the battlefield of the Somme, and July the 1st was the first battle of the Somme, which was supposed to have been a breakthrough moment for the army, which never came, and ended up being one of the British Army's most bloodiest days. We've still got the chimney up there. He does have a memorial, along with a few other soldiers from the area that died in World War One, and that's located at North Grimston's graveyard. So over there was a tile factory as well. That was shut down and gone by 1851. This quarry produced a maximum, I think it was, of 28,000 tonnes a year that was organised from here. And all this area up there, what you can see, is all lime kilns, and I'm going to go up there and show you some of those. That direction is Wharram Street Station. This direction is North Grimston. Our quarry cottages are here, and the old tile factory is in that woods there. Absolutely derelict, nothing left of it. So heading back to Wharram Street slightly, and although this quarry was built and used before the railway arrived, it did utilise the railway once it had arrived. And we can see here an embankment just on the other side of these trees through there, starting to rise up here, and there we come across our first lime kiln. I am going to try and get through there to show you that. Just trying to get through somewhere safe. Okay, there we are. So now I'm on the rise of the embankment. I have to go a roundabout way to get to that first lime kiln. There are loads of these. So this is our first lime kiln that we've come across going this direction. By no means the oldest one around here. And it looks like it's had actual repairs done at some point in its life. And we can get onto the top of this, and there should have been a pit there. Not a bad one. So you can see what that one looks like. This is quite a lot of lime kilns here. They are interesting. Got to remember, this is when men were men. Now there are a number of lime kilns around here. When I say a number, I mean there's a lot. And behind me there you can see the quarry face. And above that quarry face, that fence there is actually the road up to Malton or Setterington, and it's right on the edge of this quarry face here. That has got to be dangerous. That has got to collapse at any moment, and I think I'll be back to do a video on just how dangerous that is. But this is all a quarry face now where I'm walking on, or the level of the quarry, and I'll turn that camera around now. So this is another kiln, and we will go to the front and I will show you how many of these there are. Continuing on, there's another one, and we'll get to a good one at the end, or one of these good ones, and we'll select a little bit of an explanation on how these things were. There's another one there. I know these look like nothing more like pits in the ground. That there is a bit of a break in the kilns, and it's likely something spanned that, because there are some bolts in the ground about here, here and around there. Continuing on, and when it gets to the end of that drop, we have another kiln just in there. They don't stop there. There is another kiln over there in that wall there, and then we're back to our quarry face. Now look at where that fence is. That is the road edge where there's articulated lorries going over there. And in some points when you are travelling along that road, we did travel that road to come here, you can see where the fence has actually dropped down into the quarry. That's why I think it's worth coming back to discuss what was going on there. Now I've come back to this one here because you can see some brickwork in the edges there and around it, and you can actually see at the bottom somewhat of a hole, and that's probably where the fire furnace was. And what they used to do was they used to lay it with chalk, coal, chalk, coal, chalk, coal, chalk, coal, chalk, coal, and it would take 3 or 4 days to fill one of these. It was all done manually and precisely, and then they would light a fire underneath down there, and it would heat the kilns to around 900 degrees Celsius in order for a chemical reaction to take place to turn the chalk into burnt lime, which would be used in mainly construction. So that's what these look like from the top. We'll go down below and I'll show you just how many they are. I've now come down to the bottom of where the kilns are on the track bed. This is the track bed, and that's the direction towards Wharram Street. You can see that kiln there. There'll be another kiln over there. Access to the quarry face, and you can see all that behind us. And what we think they've done is they've started quarrying here, used this kiln, and then when they probably get to about there, it's getting too far to bring over here, because the kilns can't have taken a lot of building. And if we move down this edge here, we have got more kilns. And we'll try and get into this one a little bit better, because this is probably the best preserved. So this is our next one down the queue. As you can see, that's where it's been blocked up, but there'd have been a fire inside there. That's around 10 feet tall. I have stood inside there just to get the scale of how many there are. That's one there, another one in here, and there, that one's probably a little bit better for seeing the fire inside actually. So we'll try and get a bit closer to that one, and this will be the one where I'll show you. So you can see inside that one there. Again, that's probably about 6 feet tall, that one, and that's where they would have started the fire. with wood and coal, and then the other coal inside the line would have ignited through heat. And of course, when it'd take about 3-4 days to complete the process, and it would be dug out from there. That is where all the lime would have been raked out and then probably put into barrows where I am, or into sacks or something, to be able to distribute them at one time by horse and cart, but then by rail. And this is that big gap where we looked at from above, what was bridged. You can see the wall there, just in that side, and then it would have been bridged, and there's the other wall there. We'll come down here, we've got another kiln straight away, in a bit worse condition. So that's 4, and then there's another one here. This one's not too bad a condition really. 5, you can see the fireplace in that one really well. Another one there, not quite as big, but that does look as though it's been filled in at the bottom. This is all solid wall down here. And moving along, we've got the kiln that we started at the end, as well as the ancient one down that side there. As you can see by the size of these things, they are huge. And there's the fireplace down there where there would have been, raking it out into here. Noxious gases as well, and that would have been covered, their flesh, because it's caustic soda that's coming out of there. If it gets wet and sweat and wet, it'll start dissolving your skin, so it's toxic and dangerous. And then from here, potentially loaded onto something, to, like I say, carts or into sacks or trains or something like that when the trains did arrive, and then off to market. So what we're going to do is now we're going to continue going on up the line. Got to get up to Grimston station, and if there's any bridges or anything like that, we'll fill them on the way as well. We are approaching another bridge. This is another really tall one. There are tall bridges on here because of the size of that embankment. Now what I'll do is I'll go down below this bridge so that you can get a sense of scale. This is original ironwork at the side here, there, this bit there. That's what that looks like there, and if I show you at this side as well, there. And what I'll do is I'll go down underneath this one and I'll show you what this one looks like. So this bridge I've come down underneath, you can just get the scale of that. If I show you them two over there, look at the size of this bridge. Well, the top of it is not original. We can see some original ironwork there. That edge, the main girders underneath. And this is built for a farmer's access. No real airs and graces about it, just functionality, not ornamental. There is a bit of a beck that runs here, and they've also built a culvert down there to help control the water flow. You can see the stonework there. Yeah, that's a bit nicer than most of it. And we've got some embankments at the side there. I suspect this side would have had one, but that's pretty much gone. That's this bridge from underneath. The bridge we've just come from is there, and then just a few hundred yards up from that we've come across another bridge, I suspect this one will be original underneath. This is a wide bridge, potentially wide enough for 2 tracks. Even though our embankment is 1 track, the original plan for this bridge was 2 tracks. They maybe never got the memo and they built this for 2 tracks. As you can see, we've got our roadway there, and then this bit here, excess. This side in too bad a condition, really. I mean, yeah, it's, you know, you think when this was built and commissioned in 1853, yeah, it's going to be leaning a bit, it's not going to be in the best of condition. And then when we go over this side here, still all the stonework and ironwork, but it is vastly overgrown with ivy. And I will go down and see what we can see of this bridge. So this is what it looks like from underneath. We've got these giant sandstone coping stones that goes all the way around up to the real big ones at the top, and it's an arch. We can't get on there, it is private land, so we shouldn't be going into this field. As we've seen, there are plenty of surprises with the bridges on here. Let's continue on. So we've come here because the quarry where we just were, the house, this is a memorial to the son of the last quarry foreman and of the lady of the house. His memorial, Joseph Staples, aged 22, World War I. So I've just looked at that grave there, and walking around the beautiful old Norman church, we've discovered this grave here of Francis Anfield. If we go down, he died in 1870 at the age of 73. Now we know this line opened in 1853, and right at the bottom there it says, and was station master of this village for 18 years. And that was his son William, age 72. And we're about to go to what was North Grimston station, where this gentleman was the station master. So behind me you can see North Grimston station just coming into view. So here we are at Grimston station, North Grimston station. This place had 2 stations built because the first one was inadequate. What we're looking at there is an embankment for some coal drops. And if we look here, there's the original station house. It's now a private residence. There is the platform, an 18-inch platform. There is a photograph of that, so I will match them up with the olden days when this train station was in use. They've clearly moved the platform out of the way for some sort of access at some point. The train track would have gone down there, and by this time we're splitting off into 2 and shortly 3 tracks. That was a crossing. So going back this way, we have got the embankment for the coal drops. These ones are preserved incredibly well. The train would have gone across the top and dropped the coal out the bottom of the carriages. We can even get inside these. Look at how good these are amazing. We've got a concrete floor down there. Then we're going up to there. You can still see all the coping stones are in the end, on the ends of them. Almost perfect conditions. Just this last, next to last one here is going. and you can see how many coal drops there were there. Now that building over there was also part of the railway again, which is now a private residence. That was more than likely the goods office, and there is a photograph taken somewhere from here again, which I will match up for you where you can see what it was, of going up there to the cattle sidings, which were on the right, and then our track went straight ahead, and this was the second station to be built here, with waiting rooms, toilets. As you can see, that platform there is low, one of the 18-inch platforms. Money saving thing, which by sort of the late 1890s all the platforms had been raised. This one had the luxury of a completely new station being built and goods shed. Not goods shed, sorry, a goods house. Now that has been backfilled. You can see the height of this platform here, which is there. You can see the top of it below that white wicker fence. And they've backfilled it into the garden up there, but that is where the train line will have run. Straight through there. And over through there is where we're going to be picking it up shortly. I've just come to the back of the property where you can see the platform there just a little bit better. It does have those sheds on it, but that is one of the raised platforms from when they redeveloped the station in the late 1890s. So just before we move on, I've taken advantage of a high point near the station. This all down here is where the track ran. Down here there were some sidings, and that bit there is where the coal drops were, and the original station house in the back there, and the newer one here with the raised platform. Come a little bit further on the track. Grimston station is 200 metres down that way, and then we start entering a cut-in. This is sheer rock face, and to show how high that is, our kids up there. But this would have been the bridge underneath the Langton Road, North Grimston. It's been backfilled, nothing left of it. The only thing to indicate that there was a railway are these steep cuttings here. Just sheer rock face, and it's like that on both sides. Now I've had a look around, and there are little bits of brick wall here, and it's the same at the other side, but there is that there. Now whether that is ventilation for the wide bridge that this would have been, or perhaps animal crossing or something like that, difficult to say. But there is nothing left of this bridge. There is another one a bit further on, and we'll see what's left of that. So the view from the top of the bridge, that's the other side. This is the side I've gone down. You can see how far away that is down there, how deep that is, I mean, my mate. But there's nothing here, no parapets on either side. And we'll just have a quick look over on the other side. You can see how overgrown that is. Again, just a long way down into nothing. Now what you can see behind me there is the other side of what was a bridge, completely backfilled. Whether the bridge was actually demolished and it's been built up and filled in with a road across the top, I'm not sure. But it is a deep cutting what we're in, and it's wide enough for 2 tracks. As I've mentioned in previous episodes, this was a single track, but it was originally going to be 2 tracks. So it looks like this part here was constructed before that decision was changed. I'll turn the camera around, we'll walk up there because there's a real nice bridge up there. It still exists, and we'll go and have a look at it. I'm underneath that bridge at the moment, as you can see. If you look up there, you can still see soot in the brickwork. It is a well-maintained bridge, this. It is going over a main road in the area. As you can see, there's loads of parts like this on it where it's been chipped out, replaced. It does have modern bridge number on it. If I put that there behind me, you should be able to see that on the wall there. Quite a marvellous bridge, wide enough for 2 tracks. It's still here, still maintained, and we'll continue on and see what else we've got. Continuing on, that bridge is behind me. As you noticed, it's really quite wide, and already less than 100 metres, and that embankment is almost level again with the natural land around it. So the bridge being wide enough for 2 tracks. Look at where I am now. This is wide enough for 2 tracks. So constantly, as this track has been made, changes were going on to try and reduce the costs. But there will have been points what would have already been done by the time the decision has been made to make it single track. So I just thought it was worth showing how wide this is. This is easily 2 tracks, even 3 tracks down here, possibly even 4. It's huge, is this cutting. And it's like that under the railway bridge. You could easily fit 2 tracks under there. So we'll continue on. Oh, tripping over everything. We'll continue on and we'll get down to Setrington station. So the cutting is now turning into an embankment. So this is our find. Now, after all these episodes, I think this is the tallest standing structure that was part of the railway that remains on the track beds, excluding the stations, of course. As you can see, concrete post, well deteriorated, and that's the top there. It's about 7 foot tall as it stands now. We're not too far away from North Grimston station and those bridges, so this could well have been some kind of signal. The embankment here is still wide enough for 2 tracks. I said I'd turn round, but I can get through a little bit further, so we'll go on a bit further and see how far we can get. So continuing on the embankment, to my left is Setrington, to my right down there is North Grimston. Now, single track line, mostly. Where I am stood now is a single track embankment, but I'm going to turn the camera around and I'm going to show you some of what I've been walking on. So again, that way towards Setrington, this is definitely a single track embankment. But where I was coming from, where the bridge is, and I was telling you how wide it was, the embankment carried on that wide. But then when we get here, we've got this area right now where the double embankment just stops. I hope this picks up on camera. It's clinker everywhere still, all along this track, but that is a bit lower than that side. But this is wide enough for 2 trains, double track. And then I'll turn you back round and it just stops. So our embankment is there with the top here. Down here is where it just stops and goes to nothing, but the edge of the embankment is there. So they must have been doing this as a double track right up until the point where the decision was made that they couldn't afford to do it, make it single track, and this is where they will have stopped on this part. Right, that's definitely as far as we can, so we're going to go back the way we came and get round to where the viaduct was. So we've got the big embankment here coming from North Grimston. This is about where we walked to. We've come off the track because it's just impassable, but you can see the viaduct there, and that is where the old viaduct was. We are covering the Driffield Junction to Malton Railway. This line was finally closed down in 1948, and at this point we've now reached Setrington station. This is the final station before we reach Malton. You'll be able to see it there behind me. But what we're going to do is we're going to look around this station and see what there is left of it. I've been granted special permission to come onto the property and have a look around and see what remains. And let's continue on and let's have a look at what we can find. We're here on the track bed right now. That way there goes back to North Grimston, and the 3 viaduct bridge, which was in the last episode. And if we go down this way, that is towards Setchington Station. Now, somewhere around here, a photograph was taken about there, looking towards where I am, and it shows a building which we think was here. But what we have remains of here are sleepers. First ones. Look at the condition of these. Absolutely rotten through. But we've also got brickwork down here. If we go over here, our kid's been having a rummage around. He's found some ironwork, a slate tile. This ironwork here looks like, there we go, down there. That looks distinctly like guttering. More sleepers there. And this is where we think there was some kind of junction or signal box. We've got more sleepers here. You can even see where the shoes were, with the ironwork still in there. Being used as fence posts now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stand back and I'm going to show you this ground and the shape of it. Because when I get back down, when I get alongside the platform here, I'm going to face this way and I'm going to try and match a photo up later in the video, and you'll see there was some kind of signal box here. You can definitely see a shape in the ground of where something was. I'll continue down there and get down towards the platform. We've just come from down here. I think the old signal type box would have been there. I've stood here and I've taken a photograph taken this way, and right here we've got the edge of the platform now. This is a raised platform. This was done in the late 1890s. As you can see, it's got the coping stones on the top there, but sadly when we go to the next part of the platform where it's all raised, they are all missing. There is some gate posts here still. That is just before they drop off to the edge of that platform there. And then as we look this way towards the train station, this is all definitely wide enough for 2 tracks, and it was 2 tracks, and this is where the sidings are. So the coal sidings are now going off up that direction. The train station is the white gable end here, and if you can see that gable end there, that was a weighbridge. I believe that was the only weighbridge on the line. There are some photographs taken from around here of train going up onto the siding, so I'll be matching these up and I'll be putting them all in at some point. Now, this is the platform. We were just up there where it goes down. This is now a rise for the coal drops. There is a lot of erosion here, so it just looks more like a slope rather than an embankment. And then if I continue to go over here, it's a bit more prominent. That is towards the coal drops up there. Again, we've got land erosion going here. Now where you can see that black line there, that's a roof. And what they've done here is they've utilised these coal drops and turned them into sheds, which I will go around and show you. So now I've come down to where the coal drops were. This is the embankment here, and these walls, with each one of these, are demarcation lines of where each coal drop was. And we've got one in there, 2, 3, 4 of those, still intact, in really good condition, because they have utilised these walls and built sheds from them, or garages, whatever. And now you can see the back of it. And if we look here, This is just the edge of the property, and that's what we've got down the back of there. Now what's unique about this one is the weighbridge. That's the station house, we'll come to that shortly. This property has got sleepers all over it. It is an estate house, this one now, and apparently they kept a lot of sleepers and put them to use at later on. Now we've got some big concrete copings there. They could potentially have been off the platform. So this was the weighbridge. It was likely here. It's now kennels. There's nothing left of that, but we've got the original building here. And luckily for us, we've been allowed to go inside because there is something quite special in there. This is what we're looking at here. Beautiful bit of brickwork around the chimney, and as we go inside, not used for much at the moment. The gentleman that owns the property is proud to live here, with it being an old railway property and one that sadly is no longer open. He's got some maps on the wall of the place. But what's brilliant about this particular one is that is the chimney breast as we go down. The original fireplace is still there, and the hearth is still there. I'll just go in for a closer look at the detail on that for you. Amazing. Absolutely incredible. What a beautiful little building. Look at the detail on the window. Just a simple arch. And yet, it just looks so special. We'll come back outside. Close the door. And then we'll come over to film the house. There is some special detailing on this property here, and I'll go into that in a moment. So Setrington Station originally opened on the 1st of the 6th, 1853, and as I've mentioned before, they all had low 18-inch platforms. That is this one here. It did close to passengers, this building, in 1950 and completely closed in 1958. It's an absolutely beautiful building, really good condition. It is lived in and it is part of an estate property. It had two sidings, one for coal, which is that one there, and one for livestock, although it didn't have a platform. It had a removable ramp, and there was apparently a private siding for some lime works. Now where you can see those trees growing there, that was a quarry. So whether it was that one or a one further up there, I'm not certain. So as with pretty much all these train stations, the platform was raised and a renovation happened, adding this building here, which is a waiting room, and a raised platform which you can see all the way up there. Now you'll notice here that this has got all the copings on it, and then when we get to the edge where it starts being a raised platform, there are no copings on it until you get right to the end where I showed you. With it being an estate property, they saw fit to remove all these copings and repurpose them throughout the property anywhere. Now you've got that bricked up part there, and if I show you what's behind this here, you can see another brick platform there. That would have been likely for some controls, for some points or something. Not certain, but we did come across that on Burdale. It's had a bit of renovation underneath here with these bricks, and the property is absolutely beautiful. You can see where the original doorway was moved there, and these were waiting rooms and toilets, which was probably this end one here. But something I'm going to draw your attention to is these air bricks in the shape of wagon wheels. Absolutely amazing. And then if we go around to this side of the property, we've got wagon wheels there and an extension to the property here. Really tall chimneys. And that is Setrington Station. As we leave Setrington Station behind us, the crossing is here. I'll just film the crossing, and I can't thank the gentleman enough for letting us on his land to be able to take this video, film inside the shed. I just can't thank him enough. So the train platform's here. It would have gone through here, along straight through that hedge, and there would have been a crossing here, which is long gone, and then it enters a cut-in, which is what you can see there. Now that just looks like a dip because it has all been backfilled. There is a farmer's field over there, and if I remember, I'll put in an aerial photo of the side-by-side maps to show you where this cutting went. It's all been backfilled for a good few 100 metres, and it's all farmland above there. And next we've got the second tunnel. Yep, that's right, the second tunnel on this line, and we'll be filming that next. It is difficult to see what's going on from the ground, but that was a cutting that was ahead of me. It's all been backfilled, so we'll go to the side-by-side map and zoom it in so we can see where we're at Setrington. This is the station, and you can see the cutting there next to where it says 180. All that is field that has been backfilled now. On the left hand side map you can see that it's marked as a cut-in, but on the right side map you can just see it now as a shadow in the field. On the ground that does have a little delve in it, so you can kind of see it, but not as clear as this from above. And then that takes us to Setrington Tunnel. People will argue that this is a bridge, but I can assure you it is a tunnel at just over 200 metres in. This behind me is Setrington Tunnel. We'll go down and we'll have a look at it, and I'll tell you a bit about it as well. So as I'm coming down the tunnel, you can see this is all backfill, as we're just seeing on Google Earth. The tunnel entrance is here. This looks to be wide enough for two trains. It is fairly, well it is, it's wide enough for two trains, is that surely. As you can see, it is quite ornate. And we'll go up the top and I'll show you what you can see from above as well. This is completely locked up and it is a bat sanctuary. However, I do plan on getting up to that vent and having a look through it. Bear with us. There we are, making our contraption. on an extendable pole, so that we can get up and see through there and have a look inside this tunnel.
You'd have to go to that.
I can stand up here. And there we go, we are raising up. Let's move a little bit closer to that if we can. Get right up against the grill. Keep going, keep going, keep going. Just lower it down slightly. If you can. Down slightly. There, perfect. Spin it the other way. Oh, perfect that. Oh, we can see inside there very well. That's wonderful. And that is what is inside Setchington Tunnel. Bridge, tunnel. Whichever it is. That is inside Setchington Railway Tunnel. Hopefully we've got some decent footage of that on our contraption. So we'll go around to the other side. We'll have a quick look at the other portal. It's more or less the same, very decorative. Wide expanse, like it's built for 2 tracks. And we'll walk down that a bit and see what else we can see. Now this is the top of that parapet wall above the tunnel. I mean, you wouldn't know it was here if you didn't know. There it is inside there. So this is the entrance to it coming from Setchington, and it goes at an angle over this road, over to them guys over there. Now that distance is slightly over 200 metres. And here we can see the corner of that wall a bit better. So I've now come over to the other portal. You can see an original coping stone there. But this bridge is maintained because it is still a well-used bridge. So they have reconcreted the top of this one to prevent erosion. But below it is the original brickwork, well, stonework, and here, the original copings at end. That would have gone along all the way through to the other side. That would have gone all the way up to that one there. We'll go down and we'll see what this portal looks like. Here we are at the other side. We've got this supporting wall here, and as you can see, it's almost identical to the other side. Big bricked up portal. That side there would have had probably the same sort of thing as this here, which is there, gone. I think it's just collapsed down a little bit. Looks like this could potentially be some rubble from there. You can't get access to this. I have tried. I have reached out to a number of people. I can't seem to be able to gain access to it. However, I doubt very much anyone would want you going in there. It is now a bat sanctuary. So leaving Setchington behind us, we are in the beautiful area of some snowdrops, with it being spring. You can see how wide this area is. This is definitely wide enough for 2 tracks, which 2 trains could have run along at one time. And we'll continue up there and we'll see if there's anything else to be noted. So not too far away from Setchington Tunnel, we've come along a little bit and found this. That there, a gradient post, definitely railway memorabilia. There are so few things left on this track that it's an absolute delight to actually just see something. So although we're seeing a few posts along the way, this one is in remarkable condition. It's not particularly crumbling away. Yes, it has got damage to it. God knows how long it's been here. The line's shut down since 1958, so it's not done too bad. It is protected in this delve. There are a load of bricks around it, so whether there was something alongside this, I just don't know. Continuing on, because there are some other things to try and find along this railway line. Hopefully some kilns somewhere. Okay, so moving on from Setrington Tunnel, we found another one of these. This one's bent over, damaged. Really nice to see. Still here. If there's anything else, I'll continue to film everything we see. Just as I was about to head off the railway bed, which is down there, definitely still wide enough for 2 tracks down there, we found what we were looking for. There's a depression here, and it just opens into an opening down there. There's nothing really to see other than that. Over there is a quarry face. Here, this might just look like any old hole. What I'm going to do is, it's all collapsed. These things probably predate the railway. And now, I am inside a lime kiln. And there we can see the brickwork in there. Granted, it's old and falling apart. This is where they'd have been filling up with the coal and chalk in layers, precisely to fire it for burnt lime, which takes around 3 days to fill one of these. There's our rail. There is a hump there, and our track bed is on the other side of that hump. I have looked on some old railway maps, and it seems there may have been an industrial type railway here, but only small, from down here up to the road. Now, that's where we've just been in there, and this is our kiln front. This is all that's left. Now, you need to go back and look at my Grimston episodes if you want to know how buried that is and how deep from there right down to here that will have gone. Now, this was only a small operation, and I am trying to get to the other one as well. I don't think there's anything left of the frontage of this one. As we can see, you've got a definite tramway down there. Our track bed is there. We've still got fence posts in position here. And this is our next lime kiln. I am going to try and get down there. It's not very easy. I am now getting up to that lime kiln. The front of this one is all completely gone. You can see how old these are by the size of that tree in there and how far down that goes. But I hope you can see that, the shape of it. And that is a particularly ancient lime kiln, which would have gone way down there. And they'd eventually raked it out up here. Now, this embankment here makes sense because our track bed is there. We've got this mound here, and we've got this bedway here. This would have been for horse and carts, that kind of way out of the quarry, because this is on maps older than the railway. Okay, so we're going to continue on now, get back on the track bed, and we'll get to Scarlet Balk Bridge. I'm continuing in along the track bed. Now, this row of trees, no coincidence that that's a neat row across there, because that is the edge of the track bed. Our cutting is getting shallower and shallower, and it's starting to become unpassable up there, looking at that. And next on the track is a 3-arched bridge called Scarlet Balk Bridge on Scarlet Balk Lane, and we'll catch up there. So I've come away from the embankment of where we were, just up there. This is where the bridge was, and that's the embankment there back to Setterington Tunnel. And our next place, port of call, is a bridge down that way before the line completely disappears into Norton. There is a photograph taken from roughly where I'm standing to show you what this bridge looks like, so I'll put that up for you. So our Scarlet Balk Bridge is down that way. This is our embankment, and we are hoping to pick up a bridge along there somewhere. We'll continue on and hopefully we can come across that. From where I showed you the railway embankment, we've now managed to get on the railway embankment, and it turns into part of the Centenary Way. Down there's been a footbridge that crosses water, and the water of the becks are on either side. This embankment is in terrible condition. I'll turn the camera around and you can have a look. Now there's my buddy and my brother just walking ahead of us down there, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to show the camera down there. You can see water at that side, and I'll turn the camera around this way and you can see water at that side. Now the right hand side of this looks like it was being prepared for 2 tracks. This is only wide enough for 1. Now whether that was the case when it was being built, they already started converting this to 1 track, I'm not certain, but the drainage beck at that side is far enough away, easy to put another track up there should the embankment have been built that high. Now as I said, this embankment is in terrible condition. Look at how it's just coming away at the sides everywhere. And if we're looking at here, this part of the embankment, although it's been fly tipped on, is definitely wide enough again for 2 trains. It seems as though it was very fickle at the time. So what we're getting up to now is a bridge. This is heading towards Norton. Behind me is Scarlet Balk Bridge. I'll show you what remains of this next bridge that comes up. So that way is Scarlet Balk Bridge. This is the Centenary Walk, just along the track a little bit. And here there would have been a bridge with the railway going across the top. There is something on the top of there which I will show you in a moment. The track bed continues to go down, the embankment getting lower and lower all the time to the end of these trees, and then it heads into what is now a food factory up there. Now there's nothing left of this bridge. There's no parapets or wall edges or anything like that. It's been completely built up and filled in, so you can't see anything at all. Looks like the farmer's been doing a bit of management of the railway track. Well, I say railway track, I mean the beck at the side of this side. Becks on both sides here. This is now approaching the top of what the bridge was. And crazily enough, that towards Malton, down here, that is a railway sleeper. Now going back this way, we can see that straight line there. One there. 2 bits there. And a lot more clearer is that bit there. Chairs for what the track would have been laying on. If I turn around again, we can look at that. Built for single track. But again, mysteriously, that beck is put so far away that potentially it could have even been built up for 2 tracks at one time had it been a successful line. So the next time we'll catch up with this track will be in Norton on Scarborough Junction. I'm now on Scarborough Road Bridge at Scarborough Road Junction. Our line would have gone off that way towards Malton. We will go down there shortly. This is an extremely busy road bridge. This is a Sunday morning and traffic's busy. We'll get underneath this bridge and have a look as well. There's a photograph taken from around here, which I will show you, and we'll go to the other side of that bridge in a moment. So crossing over onto the other side of the bridge, that's where we've come from, Setterington. There is a photograph taken from the embankment up there facing this way, showing a big old signal box about there. Now I've had a look around this bridge, and what I found is this huge concrete pad there. Down here. That there is approximately where the signal box was. And if I show you where the entrance to the bridge is, it's just there. Like I said, we will go under that. Also, I've noticed at the other side there is a fence. Now look at that fence over there, nice and modern. I will show you the fencing that I've discovered. So this is the other side of the bridge. We're going down here in all this ivy. We notice some fencing. Now if you look at this, if you know anything about railway fencing, look at that. Down, down. I'll pull it in out a little bit so you can see it. Original diagonal railway fencing. So I've come down under the Scarborough Road Bridge. The junction box, signal box, sorry, will be at that side there, and I'm in the actual track bed. And this bridge is in fantastic condition, and it is well maintained because it's a heavy used bridge. But as we look up there, we can see soot marking the ceiling still. A beautiful plinth there. If you can go around to that side, you can see it a bit better there. So that is from Setterington in the cutting. And then this way is through Norton into Malton, where it doesn't far off join the main lines. As you can see, the track bed here is now a private road. Well, it's not private houses with a roadway. And what I'll do is I'll walk as far as I can that way, and that should more or less take us onto the railway line. Walking a little bit away from our Scarborough Road Bridge, you notice the embankment here gradually getting smaller. This is still an embankment. Here we go. This is a private road, but I am going to walk down it because it looks like our track probably went off that way. A little bit further down from our embankments, this is an allotment area which bends off around that way, but through that gap there and roughly about here is where our train line went. Through there and down to there. Now it ran parallel along another railway line until we got into Malton Station, which is where we'll be going to next, because that's the next place we can actually pick it up. But with it running parallel next to the train lines, which means some of these train lines are now still live and active, and that is where we are now. next to active lines. But whilst I'm here, because we are at Scarborough Road Junction more or less, there's just a little bit of bonus things I want to show you. Now what you can see behind me is really important for the line that we've just covered. Mainly the whole reason why the Driffield to Malton line was built is in that bridge. I'll turn this camera around and I'll show you what's left of that bridge there, and I'll tell you what it is. So that is what is left of a bridge. There is a bit more, I'll show you it. Let's go around it and I'll have a look. Which is there. You can see, and then if you look on the other side of the track when we go back round here, I'll get a better angle on this so you can see that. You can see a plinth at the top there. A railway line would have run across there. Another part of the buttress there, which is now completely gone, and then there'd have been another buttress over there, and on the other side of the embankment there, across the River Derwent, is another one. This was a huge bridge, and this was continuing from Driffield through the Scarborough Road Junction where we've just been, all the way on to Thirsk. I thought I'd just show you that whilst I was here. So from here we're going to go on to Malton railway station. So here we are at Malton, the end of the line for the Driffield Junction to Malton railway line. This is the original platform of where it would have pulled in, but it would have pulled in at that side. That side is now an Asda car park, and there is an Asda built on the site of part of the station. And I can show you where that roof went. Now what we're looking at here is the original edge of the platform, which no longer exists. We've got our bike sheds here. And there's our Malton train station there. And then what we have here is the original end of the line. Now you can see these parts here, they would have had ironwork coming across. There would have been a wall going there, not where this building is, and the platform would have been straight down there, and the passengers likely out through that archway. And if I just show you here, you can see a bit of wall jutting out there. That would have gone straight on, and these bits here, like I say, would have had supported ironwork for the roof, just like they do in here, just like that there, and a bit further down here too. Just like that there.